Hey guys, it's ANicWin, also known as Amy, and happy Monday. I hope you're having a lovely day. This is a snowy build, the first one, or wintry if you prefer that word. The first one of the season. It's very cold here. Cold for me. It's like in the 30s, which I know is not super cold, but it's frigid for me. And so I'm in the mood for something snowy and something just cozy and frosty and all of that stuff. I did not go full Christmas. There is a Christmas tree and a couple of rogue Christmas decorations. I'm just not in the festive spirit yet, right? Like I've got things coming up that I kind of need to get in the festive spirit for. Like we're gonna go light seeing here soon. There's like a really cool light show at this park near where I am. I'm not going to tell you where, sorry. We're going to go see that. And then, I have like a holiday Christmas party for my boyfriend's work and family things and all of that stuff. And I'm just like, I'm just not into it this year. I don't really know why. Actually, I do know why, but it's kind of a sad reason. So I'm not going to go there because there's no need to bring the mood down. But it's just a little harder for me to connect with Christmas than it used to be. And that's okay. That's not what this build is about, though, so we won't continue down this track. This is just a little family-style home. I don't really know what, build style this is. It's not one I typically build. I know that for sure. I Googled. This is literally what I did. I Googled winter home. And I saw this little, right here, actually, this little cluster of roofing on an article that was like 7 ways to winterize your home. I don't know what that means, but I liked the home, so I grabbed it and tried to kind of mimic it. It's different. The windows are different. The porch is slightly different. You know how it be when you're trying to build real life in The Sims. But what drew me to it was the roofing. Now, I'm not super comfortable with using multiple types of roofing on a home. I have such a hard time blending them together. But I think it works here. I specifically wanted to do this so I could practice. Now that is a goal of mine in 2023 / the end here of 2022 is to get more comfortable with different roofing styles. I think that's where I lack a lot in The Sims. That and living rooms. I feel like my living rooms always fall short, but I just want to practice that. I am an individual that has to have goals. I am very goal oriented, not necessarily for, how do I say this? I'm not trying to achieve a certain status or something like that, but I do have skills and things like that I work towards, or milestones, stuff like that. And I thrive when I have something I'm working towards. When I have nothing, I am just sort of bored and generally chaotic. So inner workings of my mind, probably more than you ever wanted to know, but there you go. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be working on. You won't see it all the time because there have already been many instances where I've practiced and it was horrific, and I keep those to myself. But when it's a general win, I'm like, okay, we'll see, we'll follow this through. And basically this is a long way of me saying I was fiddling with different roof shapes and I'm kind of proud of myself and I like this one. Now, in saying that, I do realize that what you're seeing here, everything is very tall. Like that middle section, she tall. And I didn't realize that until I was going through and adding some little tiny details off camera and was like, why are these proportions so awkward? And then I realized because we're reaching for the sky, that's why. And I brought everything back down a little bit. So when you download this from the gallery or if you use the tray files, whatever, it will look a little bit more normal. You'll see it in the screenshots. I know, bear with me. It's a learning process. There's bound to be mistakes. Another thing about this home that made me a little bit uncomfortable, speaking of reaching outside of my comfort zone, is the size. I don't typically build really large homes like this, and I know this isn't massive. This is probably more so mid-range. And I panicked a little. I messaged my friend April and I was like, help, I'm scared. And she just laughed at me because this is obviously not a real problem with love. She wasn't making fun of me. Well, maybe she was making fun of me. I didn't take offense to it either way. But yeah, no, I was panicked. I'm still a little bit panicked and it's over. I've done it. It's built. And I'm like, ooh. it was just a lot of space. There was a lot of extra room, and I was like, I don't know what to do with you. I had no clue, and I had no yard space. I'm like, it was different. We muddled through. So basically what I had to do to make this work for me is come up with a storyline. Now, I was going to do that anyway because it helps kind of steer how you're going to decorate the interior. But there was just a lot going on. So my story, I guess what I landed on is this is a household of 5, and in my head it's consisting of like mom, dad, and 3 sons. But you could kind of reconfigure this however you want it to be. This is just what I'm picturing. So I don't know what mom does. I know she works out of the home. She's not a stay-at-home mom. She's contributing. She has her own career. I just don't know what it is. And then dad is actually a professor at Foxbury University, and he specializes in robotics. So he has a little robotics lab right next to his office, which is in the home. Now, I don't think he works from home, but I think he has access to like his research and things like that, because I feel like those who work in academia are always working. Do you know what I mean? Like the wheels are always turning. It's hard to separate your mind from life. It doesn't work, to be frank. So that's what I landed on for the parents, and that's what those 2 bonus rooms there are up to your right. Also, we did the dining room. Hope you enjoyed it. And I did the hallways and the bathrooms off camera because this build was going to be massively long, and that just it felt unnecessary. Anywho, so the rest of the family, we have a teenage son and 2 child age sons. They're not twins, but they do share a room. I think what had happened was the parents had their oldest. They were just enjoying being parents, having life experiences with them. And then one day he's almost a child or is a child, and they're like, oh, we were going to have more of these. And then they had a second one, and then decided 3 was the magic number, and so they had a third. So I think there's like, I don't know. I'm going to base this off of my own family here for a second. I think there's like 6 years in between the oldest and the middle, and probably like 2 years in between the middle and the youngest. And when I say real life, I do not have children, but I have nephews. I have a 12-year-old nephew, a 6-year-old nephew, an almost 2-year-old nephew, and one on the way, also a nephew. So those birth years are just getting closer and closer together, and something similar happened there. Anyway, that's not my story to tell. We're going to move on. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for the family. For the teenager, I think he is an all-around a sporty guy. Like, he's into sports, he's into everything. So he does cheer, he does football, he does baseball, soccer, wrestling, you name it. If it's active and physical, he's doing it. But he's also into like jazz music and concerts, and he's just kind of like this weird mix of jock and not a band geek. Not that there's anything wrong with being a band geek. I was one, kind of a jock, but mostly a band geek. Yeah, he's just this weird mix of both. Like, he doesn't want to choose. He doesn't feel like he needs to choose. And you don't. You can be into whatever you need to be, or whatever you want to be into. But he's just kind of refusing to follow that whole high school protocol of you can only be one thing, because he thinks that's a load of BS. And it is, FYI. So that's him. I kind of adore him. If I played this family, if I made them, he would be like the heir to the next generation. And then the younger 2, I don't really have their personalities fleshed out, but their room is just chock full of toys. I feel like maybe one is into like being crafty, creative in some sort of way, and maybe one leans a little bit more towards mechanical. But that's the same old song and dance, and that's just because there's only so many things you can do with sim children. So I'm sorry, that's not particularly creative, but there you have it. Now, I talked all the way through the dining room and the kitchen. Hopefully you enjoyed those. There is an eat-in kitchen technically. The bar area, only one of those seats is going to work. The other 2 were alt placed. There's plenty of dining, basically. You could throw a whole neighborhood block party and still have seating. You're going to have a spot to sit. And then we're moving on here to the living room. Like I said, there's a tree. I have hiccups. Why? I did mount the TV where the mirror is. I know I just used this fireplace, but I wanted something more contemporary, not rustic, not vintage, that was high. I didn't want anything that was just kind of like mid-level. I don't know the word I'm looking for right now. I didn't want one of the short ones, the short fireplaces, because I wanted the mounted TV, but I wanted it to look framed. So this was my compromise. Now, I'm going to be honest with you all. I like every room in this house except the living room. And let me tell you why. It's a square. I needed it to be rectangle, but by the time I realized this was my living room, I was not going to extend the front any further. It was going to look weird. I was already set on the exterior shape. And I didn't want to cut off from that formal dining room area because then it was just a really awkwardly big hallway. So it's just kind of like stuck with this room shape. Square living rooms are so hard for me. There are people that pull it off so well. They do a phenomenal job. I ain't one of them. So I struggled. I like it. It's not my favorite. It's not the best I've ever done. I don't really like the curtains, but I got crafty with the windows. There was just a lot of regret in this particular room. Do you know what I mean? It's okay. Like, she's part of the family. We love her, but I don't know. We're going to move on. So that was the living room. And just one thing I did want to point out, I did put the postcard bulletin board thing up. I think this family travels a lot. They go on a trip every year and together they pick out a postcard from wherever they've been and they hang it up. And that's just like their way of getting out of the house, getting out of the routine of work and school and stuff and getting on the road and bonding as a family. My own does that. I was obviously pulling on a lot of inspiration from my real life for this one, but yeah, so I like that. I like that they're doing stuff other than school work, extracurricular activities. They're doing something that's just for them, just for the family. Now we did the robotics. I'm so behind. We did the robotics lab. There's not a whole lot going on in there just because, one, it's not a big room, but two, there's not a whole lot to go with robotics. I mean, it was a major part of Discovery University. We didn't get a lot of stuff for it that would make sense for an adult's lab, so I did what I could. There is a chemistry table in there as well, or something that came with Get to Work, so you can get your science on, right? And then in here there is a computer. Even though I'm thinking this is Dad's office, I think the whole family has access to this computer, so I wouldn't necessarily lock this room. There's also a chess table and an accessible bookshelf. There's multiple throughout the build, but I think this is the only one you'll be able to access. I just like the way the wood tones all played in together. Honestly, this is a really nice little office. I enjoyed the shape. I enjoyed the layout. I like it. It sparks joy for me. And you may notice I'm putting quite a few skill building items kind of everywhere. I think it's a hassle once you're in a house this size with a family that size to go off lot to build skills, depending on what they are. Just because usually at that point you have multiple Sims working on skills, and it's just easier if you have access to some of the more common ones. And in some cases, some of the uncommon ones on your home lot, so you don't have to leave every few minutes, you know what I mean? So that was all the living side of the house. This half, the left half, is for the bedrooms. There are 2 bathrooms on this side. There's an ensuite, not an in-suite, an ensuite to the master, one that the boys share, and then there's a third full bathroom right off the kitchen. Well, actually right off the hallway. So you have plenty of options, especially if you're getting ready in the morning. I think I did shower tub combos for all of them, so you can do baths or showers. I personally like to have my child age Sims and younger take baths. It feels more realistic, but I feel very creepy for saying that, so we're not going to dwell. This is obviously the teens room, or maybe it's not obvious, but it is. It's the teens room. I love that bed. That is my favorite bed, my favorite swatch, and it definitely inspired the color palette. So there's a lot of red, a lot of blue. And I don't think it's overwhelming, but you can definitely tell that this room is themed, and I enjoy that. I like themed kids rooms and teens rooms. To this day, my favorite DLC that we got with The Sims 2 was teen stuff and family fun stuff. I don't care. I don't care if it was just furniture. They were my favorite packs. If I only had base game installed, they were installed too. You gotta have a theme. That's all I'm saying. But you can kind of see elements from this kid's personality coming out. We've got some music. I do put the headphones in here eventually. You can see that he games. He's got his sports and stuff everywhere. I just feel like he's really embraced the things that he enjoys and who he is as a Sim. And he is kind of created this little, not oasis, but this little space that he can come and get away from the hustle and bustle of the family and really touch base with the things that he enjoys. Now, I'm going to point this out if someone's going to call me out. I just know it. That mirror, I'm told, is orange. To me, it looks red. But that locker is also red. So to me, those are the same color. I'm told they're different. If that really bothers you, just change the mirror swatch. But to me, they look the same. So take from that what you will. And we're just finishing up his room. We're going to hop over here into the kids' room. I decided to go bunk bed because I really wanted a lot of items in here for kids skill building, kids activities. I also kind of wanted to try to theme it. I did theme it. I wanted to try to go with like a mountain theme, but not one that I'd done before. I've done like a grayscale mountain theme and a Mount Como build. I don't even know, a year ago. I don't know if it was a full year. I also don't know what that noise was my mouth just made. I like sucked in a deep breath and my lips hit my teeth. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I wanted to go with this kind of mountain theme just because the plaid worked with their brother's room and I just liked it. I liked the idea. And so I kind of went more adventure with this one rather than teen boy, obviously. And so we're using a lot of the little campers kit, kids room stuff, just pretty much anything that looked like it had to do with traveling or exploring. That's really what I went for. Ideally, I would have done like a safari theme, but we don't have many safari themed items in the game. So I went with adventure as the overall theme. And I really like it. I like how much I was able to squish in here. I do eventually pull out that radio. I swap out the lantern on the little shelf because I like it. I think it's cute. And overall, I really like this room. Yeah, I don't know. The color scheme was a little weird for me. I was a little iffy on that accent wall being paired with the, I don't even know what you would call that wallpaper, the checkered wallpaper. That's what we're going to say. It's probably gingham, but I was a little iffy just because it's pattern on pattern, but I think it made it more cozy. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to school me. I'm not an interior designer. Have never had a class, so like I don't know what I'm talking about. I just go with what looks nice or feels nice to me, which I think is what most of us do, to be fair. But we're just kind of putting some finishing touches in their room. I'm trying to make each bunk look a little different. It's hard because I don't want to block your access to the bunk. And these things are so finicky, especially with the ladders, and I couldn't get the ladder to disappear from the left-hand side, the side against the wall. It started out that way, and then it glitched, and then I couldn't get it back, and I don't know what I did, and I'm going to have to look at that later because I'm sure it's a setting, but ignore that. But I feel like that's going to be detrimental to this whole process. We'll see. We'll find out. Then we move into the master. Now, I don't think that the parents of this household spend a lot of time in here. I think they're in here to sleep, to get ready, to canoodle. Obviously, they've had 3 kids. There's some canoodling going on. And that's it. I don't think they treat this as a retreat. I don't think they really like to be away from their kids. I mean, they do a healthy amount, but when they're all together and all available, like they're going to parent-teacher conferences, they're cooking together, they're going on trips, they're having family game nights, like they're spending quality time with their kids, and they prioritize that as a couple. And so when they're done, when things are shut down for the night, they come here to relax, but they're not hanging out in here during the day. They don't feel the need to get away from their kids. Not that there's anything wrong with that. They're just definitely a dynamic duo when it comes to this whole parenting thing. That's what I'm saying. But on that note, I'm going to leave you guys here to enjoy the rest of the build. As always, feel free to leave a like or a comment down below letting me know what you think. You can also subscribe if that's something that would spark joy for you. I will be posting the screenshots on Instagram. I promise. I've taken a little break from that because it kind of scares me lately. Well, it gives me anxiety. I'm going to get back into that. I do apologize if you've been looking out for that. I will also be posting the tray files where you on Sims file share. That will be linked down below. I will see you on Monday with my next video. And in the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day and a lovely rest of your week. Bye, guys.
When everything is white, glimmering silver white, and stillness fills the night, it's Christmas, a winter wonderland There's joy in the air, family's near. We give thanks for this past year. Oh, nothing compares to the love that we share. Oh, what a bliss. A green red delight with glimmering silver wine. You dazzle us all from big to small. Warm laughter and white smiles, my presents stacked in piles. Take me away, Christmas Day.